All right, welcome back to All Cars, y'all. I am John. It is time for another Motor Week Retro Review reaction. This time I am wading into some of Hyundai's lineup, and specifically the 2011 Equus. This is a really interesting car because it's nicer than that Genesis Coupe that they came out with, but it's still squeezed in there when it was a Hyundai, not a Genesis product. And when I've experienced these, they were actually pretty impressive. So grab your beverage of choice, sit back in your comfy chair, and come take a little journey with me down memory lane to 2011. Let's see what Motorweek said about it at the time.
Motorweek, television's original automotive magazine.
Hyundai's reputation, especially as of late, is based on building affordable vehicles with great value and quality. But now the Korean car maker is taking that formula to the large luxury sedan segment. This is the all-new 2011 Equus, and it will compete with flagships from Lexus, Mercedes, and others. That's an astounding goal. But has Hyundai finally bitten off a little more than they can chew?
All right, so let's talk about the styling here. I bet we'll get some more into it in a minute. It's not bad looking. It looks a little bit like taking, well, a big Hyundai and just kind of beefing it up a little bit. We all know that it doesn't compete truly directly with like the 7 Series or the S-Class or something like that. And it does lack a certain level of prestigious look. Let's put it that way. It's not an ugly car, but it looks like a really, really nice Hyundai, not 7 Series or S-Class. I like it. It doesn't wow me. It doesn't make me think. In certain angles, it looks a little squinty, narrowish, but I think it looks pretty good. And I think it's that kind of just different enough, certainly for the money, that, yeah, I think I'd give this a shot. But it doesn't carry any of the prestige you get of driving one of those other ones. Well, let's see what they say.
Then they can chew. When Hyundai introduced the Genesis premium midsize sedan 2 years ago, we wondered if the value car maker could compete in a more rarefied class. We quickly concluded that it could. Now, to cement its reputation even further as a premium brand, the car maker brings to market the full-size 2011 Hyundai Equus. As their new flagship, Equus aims to compete with vaulted saloons like the Lexus LS and even the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. Equus will attempt to do so by delivering all the bells and whistles affluent buyers expect, but at a much more affordable price point.
Well, and, you know, it's interesting they do show the Lexus and then the S-Class, because looking at the front of this, it's like the great value S-Class, honestly. They've got the same ideas with the grille and with the headlights and the cut of the hood and everything else, but it lacks a certain elegance. Again, I'm not saying it's ugly, but it lacks a level of prestige. And it's something the company grew into. There's no doubt about it. For an offering like this, it's solid.
But right off the bat, targeted buyers may have two reservations. One, the full-line Hyundai badge itself, and two, the car's overly conservative styling. It looks bland even compared to its hardly earth-shaking rivals. Except for a Bentley-like rear end, there isn't much to attract an exclusive eye to the Equus. Still, the big sedan does exude sophistication with a Genesis-like front fascia and a flowing greenhouse and roofline for an almost presidential profile.
And honestly, the overall profile there is really nice. I like it a lot. It strikes me as very Lexus-like, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I like how they word it. It's conservative, but there's just a lot of touches here that say upscale. I don't love the rear end. There's something about the cut of the trunk and the triangular headlights. The rear end to me looks a little weak. Styling preference more than anything else. But overall, a handsome car that never rises to that Mercedes, BMW, Jaguar level of really saying I've arrived.
But there's also a hint of sportiness here thanks to brawny rear shoulders, 19-inch chrome alloys, and dual exhaust. Things improved when we stepped inside its executive cabin. It's spacious with well laid out controls amid nicely done wood trim. But there's still an air of cost containment, from the plain gauges to an abundance of hard plastics to even the unremarkable face of the analog clock. On the other hand, a lot that's optional on rivals is standard on Equus. Base signature trim includes front seats that are very comfortable and supportive, with heat, ventilation, and even driver's side massage, a class first. Likewise, there's heat for the wood and leather-wrapped steering wheel. Other standard luxuries include dual automatic climate, navigation, backup camera, and a 17-speaker Lexicon stereo. And get this, an Apple iPad owner's manual.
And, you know, I think that's a really handsome interior. I do. A little dreary, a little too much black for me, and I'm not convinced by the wood. But overall, I know they're saying it shows cost containment. Nice euphemism there for cheaper. But like that clock face, it's nice. They provide it. It seems to be expected in this class. But it lacks that level of excellence, you know, just a clock. It's not a Breitling. The controls look fine. The dash is fine. Everything's just fine here. And it's got all the goodies. You can see that as part of the value proposition. They're not charging you all these extras. It's just, here it is. I like this interior. That's what I'm trying to say. I like this interior a lot, although that infotainment is set in a little bit, kind of like what Ford did with their infotainments for a long time.
Comfort extends to the enormous rear seats with sunshades and the only standard power recliners in its class. A 3-passenger heated split bench is standard, with ultimate trim dividing it into 2 individual seats and adding massage, a console refrigerator, and DVD system.
And I will say that the back seat in this was exceptional. The one I can remember was like that. It was split with that control in the middle, and it was super impressive. And the seats were extremely comfortable in these cars too. I thought so. It was a car that, if I didn't feel the need to have that 7 Series or that S-Class or a Jaguar to show off that I could afford something, this ends up being really nice. The name's not giving you something to brag about, but it was a really nice car.
All seats fold, adding nicely to the Equus's generous 16.7 cubic foot trunk space. Based on the Genesis sedan platform, the Equus is powered by the same 4.6-liter variable timing V8. Good air for 385 horsepower and 333 pound-feet of torque. Power moves to the rear wheels through a 6-speed automatic with manual shift mode.
Solid engine. I mean, I don't know about its reliability. I'm sure people will comment on that below if this is a horrible engine that sludges up or something like that. But, you know, a fully competitive, powerful V6 for the time. The only real complaint I have is that stupid shifting mechanism, right? That stupid gate there. Other than that, solid powertrain.
On the track, our Equus charged from 0 to 60 in a fast 6.1 seconds and cleared the quarter mile in 14.6 seconds at 99 miles per hour. Equus feels
solid numbers, and I will correct myself. I just said 6-cylinder. I didn't mean that. I was thinking of 4.6. So forgive me, but overall, solid numbers. It's not a sports sedan, but you know, you could assert some of your dominance away from a stoplight.
Powerful off the line, but not overwhelmingly so. Power delivery builds nicely and is quite smooth. Shifts too are smooth, but a little slow. Driving dynamics are governed by front and rear multi-link geometries, and the electronically controlled air suspension with continuous damping control includes height adjustable and driver selectable sport mode. And through the cones with sport mode on, the Equus feels acceptably capable and trimmer than it actually is. Understeer is always present, as is a fair amount of body roll. The steering is light and linear, but with little feedback. We give it better overall marks than the Lexus LS, but it doesn't come close to the caliber of a German sedan.
Well, and when I look at these through the slalom, one of the things I have been saying and really picked up on is forget the speed it can go through it. How is it doing it? And is it drama or not? Say the same thing here about braking too. And that car, they say it's better than the Lexus, but the Lexus is not meant to handle well. We know that. Is Genesis trying to go for something that's a little sporty, more like the Germans? It doesn't feel like it. But that body roll that they did thankfully mention, a lot of drama going through the slalom there. No tail kick out or anything else, but just a ton of body roll. And it looked like it sounded like the tires were squealing at just any turn at all. Decent enough. Again, you're not buying a sports sedan, so decent enough.
With stopping power is solid. With large vented disc at all four corners, the 4,500-pound Equus managed 60-0 in a good 127 feet. So while overall Equus performance seems unremarkable, as a first effort, it's still very notable. On public roads, the Equus is more than competent. It's very quiet and smooth, maybe a little too smooth. There are no ragged edges about this car's performance, but then there's not much to get excited about either. Government fuel economy ratings for the Equus are 16 city.
Oh, okay. So they just ended it. I was hoping for, comparing it to the Lexus and the prices of the S-Class and all this other stuff. It just, wow. Sorry about that, guys. I'm surprised too. It's interesting, he says, there's no rough edges, and that means there's nothing that really stands out. And isn't that the same approach that Lexus tried to take moving forward, certainly with the LS? If we rolled back the clock and I was in the market for a car this size and this price point, I think if I was looking for the Audi, the BMW, the Mercedes, the Jaguar, this is a hard sell. Because if I'm looking for something like that, I can afford it. So why would I buy the value edition and have the lack of the name, the lack of the dealership experience, and the questions about reliability? On the other hand, if I'm just looking at this as competing with the Lexus LS, not known to be a sporty car, entirely competent, probably the best car built, possibly in the past 30 years. This appeals to me a little bit because I like the little guy. I want the little guy that succeeds. I want to find that deal. I want to find something that other people aren't buying that's a little gem because people don't appreciate it. And I have to say, I have experienced one of these cars. It was relatively limited. I certainly didn't race it. But I had a chance to drive one of these. And if you got over the word Hyundai, this was an extremely nice car. In the same way that an Avalon is a nice car from Toyota, but this is even more upscale and bigger and a little more presence. There's part of me that thinks that, yeah, I'd kind of take my shot with it. But I will also say that I've seen some of these on the road. Not many of them. I don't know how many they sold, but I've seen a few. And whenever you see it, you automatically think there's somebody who wants an S-Class but can't really afford it. So it feels a little bit like a pretender car. It doesn't feel like an aspirational car. It doesn't feel like somebody, those early adopters of the LS who are like, I'm buying something that's exceptional even though it's brand new. The Equus never quite felt that. And I think it was on purpose. Hyundai came in with Genesis in a very consistent way of the Coupe and Genesis and the Equus, and then the Genesis launches. They've built their way up to building a fine luxury car. They have their own issues, primarily with their dealerships, but they took a different path than, in many ways, than Lexus. I would love to have one of these and drive it for a little while and see if that mainstream manufacturer trying to build a prestigious car, if after you use it for a while, little annoyances start to pop up. Because that's kind of what I suspect. Anyway, cool car. I wish they had the price here, had that price comparison, because it's a deal, but that cuts both for and against it. So let me know what you think below. If you had one, if you have an opinion of it, let us know in the comments. But I appreciate you being here. Show the channel some love, and have a great one.